Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to our once-a-week dedicated show called Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show, where we talk about positive alternatives to what are called sanctuary cities in a demeaning manner, and it's kissing cousin illegal immigration. So we will get on with it. We are all over social media, predominantly Facebook and Twitter, as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW. You can tweet to us. You can follow us on Facebook. We also have a Saint Cities Facebook page where you can connect with us, like it, message us if you have some input. We would certainly appreciate it. It's SAINTCITIES, so it is plural. Joined in the studio this evening by Miss Surefire. Ima, say hello to the folks.
Good evening, folks. How y'all doing?
There you go. We also have a blog, docowenshow.com, which is kind of in its infancy, but we're getting started with it. Posting some things out there. That's the best place to sign up for our email list. Over on the very top right-hand side of the blog, you'll see, sign up for the email. It's real simple. First name, last name, email address. No address, no phone number, no nothing. And it is our list, and it will stay our list. And another good way to follow us is our free app for either the iPhone or the Android. You can go out to your particular store, your app store, and just search for Doc Owen Show and download the app. You'll have access to all of our shows as well as the archive of all the shows we've put out there over the last, we're in our fourth year, so there's some Doc Owen shows that go back quite a ways. I think you will find that we are extremely consistent in the way we deliver real news and not made up or mainstream media type news. We're not big fans of that. We start every show in a very traditional manner. Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show is no different. We will start out with an inspirational quote by Ms. Surefire, immediately followed by the full version of a theme song that we've adopted that's put together by some friends of ours, Madison Rising, with full permission, and their lead singer, Mr. Dave Bray, who has gone off on his own as Dave Bray or Brave Day, either way. Ha ha! Did it again.
That's a good one. You're a poet, you didn't even know.
Yep. But there's something that goes at the end of that. So give us our inspirational quote, and then we'll follow it up with Before the Hyphens Came, and we will play a little bit off of that theme to elaborate later on this evening. Ms. Surefire, take it away.
Okay. Tonight's quote, as usual, comes from PocketFuel.com. That's PKTFuel.com. And tonight's quote comes from Psalm 27, verse 14. Here's what I have learned through it all. Don't give up. Don't be impatient. Be entwined as one with the Lord. Be brave, courageous, and never lose hope. We can learn how to be brave and courageous even when surrounded by fears. Fear reveals what you value and treasure. Be present with your fear. Do not lose control of your emotions, but be led by peace and trust, along with the grace and love of God. Wow.
Pocket Fuels had a lot to say on that one.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Had to follow it all the way through.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So people can listen
Just
to it
play
more
it
than
again.
once.
Yes.
There you
Sometimes
go.
you have the message of the Lord you have to hear a few times.
Hit play, rewind, play.
That's right.
All right. Let's hear from our friends Before the Hyphens Came.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
My 5 a.m. alarm goes off and I'm rolling out of bed. I turn the TV on to wake up and clear my head. I catch the news in time to view another stirring of the pot. Talks of inequality and what people need, forgetting what they got. But in these times of opposition, the prejudice runs deep. Dividing us by heritage is all they ever preach. They tell us that they really care. To them it's just a game. 'Cause we were all Americans before the hyphens came. And people cared about who you were and less about your name. 'Cause we were all Americans before the hyphens came. Somewhere down along the line, someone had a great idea. Divide us up by heritage and profit from the fear. But growing up a while back, before the racial trends, whether immigrant, white or black, we just called each other friends. And if we spoke an extra language, it was just another way to pledge allegiance to the flag. God bless the USA. They tell us that they really care. To them it's just a game. 'Cause we were all Americans before the hyphens came. And people cared about who you were and less about your name. 'Cause we were all Americans before the hyphens came.
Yes, sir. Before the hyphens came. Think about that. I hope you listen to those words. We play it every week in its entirety for a very specific reason. It sets the tone. It is a fact. There's really an awful lot of message in that particular song. The next thing we're going to do, and we do it as a tradition, we may well discontinue this when we think everybody's got it. But until then, we've got a little 3-minute thing put together by the Center for Immigration Studies, I believe. It's a real authoritarian presentation on what is a sanctuary city and what it is not. So listen up, please.
Before making a decision on what to do about so-called sanctuary cities, it's important to first understand what they are and what they aren't. Some people are under the impression that a sanctuary city is a place where local government resources are being used to not only actively block federal immigration enforcement, but also to actively harbor and protect people who've violated federal immigration laws. But this couldn't be further from the truth. There is no city and no state in the country with such a policy. None. However, there are dozens of cities and 2 full states with policies that have been labeled as sanctuaries. And here's what they do. In most of the cities, there are expressly written policies or ordinances to ban local law enforcement from arresting people for violations of federal immigration law. This is similar to banning state tax agents from investigating people for violating the U.S. federal tax code. Because federal immigration law falls under federal jurisdiction, a number of these cities have banned local law enforcement from even inquiring about the immigration status of a person they encounter, or informing federal agents of the possible presence of illegal aliens living in their communities. Additionally, 2 states, that's California and Connecticut, have sanctuary city-style laws on the books statewide. Known as the Transparency and Responsibility Using State Tools, or Trust Act, these laws ban the states from cooperating with or participating in a very narrow area of federal immigration enforcement. Under these state laws, if a person is arrested in the state and is due to be released for whatever they were being held for, they will not be held in custody beyond that time, even if the Federal Department of Homeland Security asks the state to hold them longer for possible immigration violations, which is something that DHS commonly does. More specifically, trust acts are addressing secure communities, a federal program that allows the DHS to access fingerprints taken by local police, to screen detained individuals for immigration status, and to request that local law enforcement agencies hold people for the federal government if they're found to be undocumented. However, what that federal program does not do is provide federal agents to deal with violations of federal law. The federal government, like it does for many federal programs, tries to get states to handle federal enforcement for them, and even foot the bill for it too. State trust acts and sanctuary city policies expose a serious flaw in federal immigration enforcement tactics and show significant power held by the states over this and other federal programs. As Hans Hermann Hoppe noted in his famous Mises Institute speech titled "What Must Be Done," without local enforcement by compliant local authorities, the will of the central government is not much more than hot air.
So now, you have an up-to-date notion of what a sanctuary city is and what it is not. And there are areas of the country that are full on sanctuaries where it is written into policy that local law enforcement will not help, will not take a proactive approach to asking for citizenship. Let me take you back to about 1900. One of our presidents, Theodore Roosevelt, was president from 1901 to 1909. And, you know, Teddy was known, it was Teddy and the Rough Riders. I mean, he was quite a character. Think Donald Trump. Think outsider. Think just really very an unpresidential character. He was like bigger than life. Theodore Roosevelt said in that time frame somewhere, I don't know exactly when, there is no room in this country for hyphenated Americanism. A hyphenated American is not an American at all. Americanism is a matter of the spirit and of the soul. The one absolutely certain way of bringing this nation to ruin, of preventing all possibility of its continuing to be a nation at all, would be to permit it to become a tangle of squabbling nationalities, an intricate knot of German Americans, Irish Americans, English Americans, French Americans, each preserving the separable nationality. The men who do not become Americans and nothing else are hyphenated Americans. There is no such thing as a hyphenated American who is a good American.
Mm-hmm.
Over 100 years ago.
There you go.
Still an issue. Even worse today.
Oh, yeah.
Not that it went on forever, but because it didn't. It's the current I believe it's the current generation in power that has exacerbated the hyphenated American instances, if you will, because it allows to divide people into segments and categories that are easier for them to address, easier for them to deal with, rather than one big America. They gotta. I know you've heard the term divide and conquer. It applies in this case just as it does in the case that it was intended for. We're going to take a little short break for a sip of water, and we'll be right back to talk a little bit more about hyphenation. Take it away.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Paraswabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is John Greenhut, the CEO of Paraswabs. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Paraswabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Paraswabs risk-free, call 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Saint Cities by the Doc Owen Show. This is Doc Owen, and
I'm a surefire.
Playing host and hostess. We've been going down the path of hyphenated Americans, and we just heard a song about it. We heard from Teddy Roosevelt. Now I'm going to play a poem for you, written and stated by another great American, died in 1979. There are a lot of us who think he's even bigger than Elvis. He's nicknamed the Duke. So let's listen to what Mr. John Wayne has to say about the hyphen. Take it.
The hyphen, Webster's dictionary defines, is a symbol used to divide a compound word or a single word. So it seems to me that when a man calls himself an Afro-American, a Mexican-American, Italian-American, an Irish-American, Jewish-American, what he's saying is, I'm a divided American. Well, we all came from other places, different creeds, different races, to form a nation, to become as one. Yet look at the harm a line has done. A simple little line, and yet as divisive as a line can get. A crooked cross the Nazis flew, and the Russian hammer and sickle, too. Time bombs in the lives of man. But none of these could ever fan the flames of hatred faster than the hyphen. The Russian hammer built a wall that locks men's hearts from freedom's call. The crooked cross flew overhead above 20 million tragic dead. Among them, men from this great nation who died for freedom's preservation. A hyphen is a line that's small. It can be a bridge or be a wall. A bridge can save you lots of time. A wall you always have to climb. The road to liberty lies true, The hyphen's use is up to you. Used as a bridge, it can span all the differences of man. Being free in mind and soul should be our most important goal. If you use the hyphen as a wall, you'll make your life mean and small. An American is a special breed whose people came to her in need. They came to her that they might find a world where they'd have peace of mind, where men are equal, and something more, stand taller than they stood before. So you be wise in your decision, and that little line won't cause division. Let's join hands with one another, for in this land each man's your brother. United we stand, divided we fall. We're Americans, and that says it all.
I miss him and people like him. They are out there. They're not. I haven't found one that's like larger than life as John Wayne was, but I'm sure they're there, and they are actually, I think, beginning to emerge, and our political ruling class tends to try to beat them back down into the molehill, kind of like whack-a-mole. Hopefully they're beginning to pop up more often than they can deal with. So anyway, that's it's been a long-standing. I didn't realize that I was in such good company when I started out objecting to the hyphen 25 or 30 years ago. And I may have started objecting about the time that John Wayne put it out, because I was active at the time. So, it is an ongoing issue that we must all individually try to eliminate from our vocabulary. Just strike it, bite your tongue, like other things. Yes.
Yeah, even I had an interesting discussion with someone on Facebook. It's just a shame that they want to further segregate the American people.
Yeah. Yeah. Stand up for it. In other words, strike it down. Mm-hmm. Just say, that won't play here.
Right. This is what it is, period.
This is the way it is.
Discussion.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
And people, there are an awful lot of people who work very long and hard to get to America, and they work long and hard once they are here to become American citizens.
That's
I'm going to
true.
give you some numbers a little bit that will frighten you in terms of the amount of time that it takes. Very quickly, we have a vice presidential debate tomorrow night between the Republican Pence and the Democrat Keaton. Is that his name? Or
Keane.
Keane.
Keane?
Keane.
I thought that was Kane.
No, I think it's Keane.
Oh.
Shows you how much we pay attention.
Who knows?
One of them's the governor of the Indiana, and the other one's the former governor of Virginia. But I thought it was pertinent, at least. We know where the former governor of Virginia stands, and that is open borders. They have worked very hard in Virginia to allow convicted felons to vote. They worked real hard to allow non-citizens to vote. In other words, immigrants who have not attained citizenship, but if they've been in the state for 72 hours, they should still be allowed to vote. I don't know what the true time frame is, but that's where that one's coming from. The other one is Pence, who's a Republican, and if you're not familiar with it, he co-sponsored a thing called the Birthright Citizenship Act, which would amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to say that an individual's citizenship status is subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S. government, so that those born in the United States would not necessarily automatically become United States citizens. In other words, he addressed the idea of so-called, quote, anchor babies, unquote, individuals who are born in the U.S. to undocumented immigrants. He also voted for the Secure Fence Act of 2006, which was a bill meant to build a wall, and the Federation for American Immigration Reform takes issues with Pence's immigration history, which speaks well for him, because that is a left-leaning liberal organization that promotes hyphenation of Americans. State of Texas, there's a clever conceit currently happening across Texas. Dallas County Sheriff Lupe Valdez individually considers whether to honor each immigration and customs enforcement detainer request on a case-by-case basis, and so far she has honored every one. So when would she ignore one? The problem is that should an individual county sheriff be able to decide if they will honor an order from a federal judge with no repercussions if they don't? In other words, she is individually deciding whether she'll turn people in her jail over to ICE. So, in essence, it is basically the controversy over sanctuary cities. Who do we turn over and who do we not? And where are they turned over and where are they not turned over? In Bexar County, the Bexar County Sheriff, Susan Parmelo, works very closely with ICE and does exactly what she's supposed to do. We have a clip in just a few minutes from the National Sheriff's Association, and it's a little 30-second promo on their position on sanctuary cities and working with ICE. So, and really, the problem is, it is not about the policeman on the street walking in a Hispanic neighborhood and asking for identification. It is about what happens once that person is booked in the jail and when they are arraigned. So it's not about, you got to get this through your head. It is not about asking for citizenship. Get off of that soapbox.
It's not racial profiling.
It has nothing to do with race.
No. Or ethnicity.
It doesn't. It's not being racist. And a lot of people, an awful lot of people think that it is. It is about cooperating with the federal authorities once someone has broken the law and not turning that lawbreaker back out on the streets without finding out if they've broken other laws. All right? There's a thing in Texas called wants and warrants. If you get pulled over by a traffic policeman, the first thing that they do, I back in the day, it's been a while since I've been pulled over, knock on wood, they would come to the car, get your license and a copy of your insurance, right? Take you to their little office on wheels.
That's right.
And they would run what is called wants and warrants to see if there were any other wants or warrants out for your arrest.
That's right.
And if there were, you're going downtown until the matter is resolved. Why we don't do that with a non-citizen, I don't know.
It would be even more the reason why they should, because it's almost like you're not able to touch them.
They have more rights than we do.
That's
right.
Totally wrong.
It's upside down. So, but the main thing is that Texas doesn't have the mainstream media, and liberals often declare Texas does not have sanctuary cities. This is not just false. It's an oversimplification. Okay? So we may not have declared sanctuary cities, but the problem is Dallas County, in which resides the city of Dallas, is a sanctuary county. And the predominant person that's supposed to work with ICE is the county sheriff, who in Texas runs the jails. Do you see the problem? I mean, they're obfuscating in order to get away with something.
Yep.
And in addition, a Democrat sheriff is retiring in Austin, Texas, and he and the Republican both agree that they should work with ICE, but the Democrat candidate, Sally Hernandez, thinks that they should kick ICE out of their jails. In other words, she's just adamant about not working with the federal authorities. Speaking of that, there was an article here about a person in Scottsdale, Arizona, as a matter of fact, that found a handwritten letter in her mailbox because of a flag she was flying that had a Mexican symbol in the center of it about, if you don't like the United States of America, you need to leave. And she thought that was being racist. And it's all because of Donald Trump. Well, sorry. First of all, it's not Trump's fault. Don't even go down that path. And it is not racist. And the funny part about it wasn't a Mexican flag. It was a Glibbit flag because her gay son had recently gotten married, so she was flying a Glibbit flag that had the Mexican symbol in the center of it for some reason. I guess she got it on sale at a flea market.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Didn't know exactly what she was getting into. I got to check my notes to see how far out of whack I am, because Ms. Surefire's looking at me like I'm skipping all around.
No, you're on track.
Oh, I am?
You're doing good.
Okay, so now we've got some input from the state of Louisiana. And by the way, New Orleans, which is in Louisiana, if you're not familiar.
I am very familiar.
New Orleans, as we say it.
That's right, down in the French
in the
Quarter.
heart of it. So New Orleans was a sanctuary city and has now declared it is no longer a sanctuary city as a result of heat from the state of Louisiana in the person of the Attorney General. So let's play a little brief clip here. We're on a statement from the state Attorney General in Louisiana.
The city of New Orleans, no longer a sanctuary city. This is all thanks to Louisiana's Attorney General, who has been an advocate for his state, as well as other sanctuary cities, saying enough is enough. It creates more crime and even death. With me now, Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. What does this victory mean for you and the city of New Orleans and other sanctuary cities?
Well, I think it means that New Orleans is safer today than it was several days ago. I think that sanctuary cities are a public safety crisis here in our nation, in those major cities that engage in sanctuary city policies, because what they do is they create a safe haven for criminals who are in this country illegally and a place for them to hide so they can go about their trade or conduct illegal activities and without the fear of being identified and deported.
Now, sir, I want the viewer to understand about crime and what was happening with crime in the city of New Orleans. And also, I think you have data from other sanctuary cities like Los Angeles. Can you show us how crime jumps in these jurisdictions?
Sure. What we have seen nationally is that those cities who engage in sanctuary city policies, crime actually increases in those municipalities when you compare them to cities of the same size who don't engage in sanctuary city policies. Because again, what happens is you create a safe haven for those in the country illegally who are criminals, who go out and conduct criminal activity.
All right, and what do you make of this? A State Department official could not answer yesterday whether refugees are screened for basically jihadi views during a Senate hearing. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, again, sanctuary cities, create a national security issue because, again, if you want to come into this country illegally and you are an international terrorist that wants to wreak havoc on our citizens on the homeland, where do you go? You go into cities under which if you create minor violations of the law, your identity will not be known, because what those policies do is prohibit law enforcement from collaborating with federal officials. So if a police officer has a person in custody who's here in the country illegally, and they're on the terrorist watch list, we won't know about them because the policy is not to cooperate.
And Attorney General, forgive me if you don't know about this topic. We're just looking into it now. A number of countries in South America and possibly Latin America, all you need to travel is a government ID card. You don't need a visa or a passport. What do you make of that?
Well, again, if you're traveling into the United States, we certainly want to ensure that you have a passport. I know that if I want to travel into, say, a country like Brazil down in South America, not only do I have to have a passport, but I have to have a visa, which is, of course, as you know, a lot tougher to get than a passport.
Yeah. And, you know, we also know, Attorney General, you know this too, that the Middle East, there's a major fake passport factories popping up all over. Attorney General Landry, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Well done. Well stated. You understand the issue. It is not just about various and sundry hyphenated Americans that we refer to. This situation is ongoing, and it is national in scope, and it is not confined to a big major metropolitan area like Los Angeles. New Orleans is down the road in terms of city size. I don't know if they may be in the top 25. I don't really think so. It's not that big a city, but it's the probably the largest city in the state of Louisiana. So
top tourist attraction.
Yeah. You know, so there's a lot of, it is a what we call a destination city, like San Antonio is. A lot of people come and go around here, a lot, you know. So when you have a city like that, it's really incumbent that the local authorities, who have far more eyes on the situation and feet on the streets than the federal authorities do, they've got to help out. They've got to at least do their part. They're not going door to door looking for IDs. They're not checking your ID to see if you're legal just for no reason at all. But it should be part and parcel to what they do if and when someone is breaking the law. And I cannot understand how any law enforcement official, I'm not going to put it on the law enforcement officers, because they, God bless them, do what they are told to do by whoever's in charge, right? So it's the law enforcement officials at the top of the ring that set the policies and procedures for the departments. And I cannot, it's just kind of beyond me that they would not do that investigation. Can we play that little 30-second spot from the Sheriff's Association? We got that one queued up and ready to go?
Let's see, hold on.
All right.
Okay.
You got it ready?
Yeah, I got it.
Let her rip.
America needs to enforce its immigration laws.
Nobody understands that better than your local sheriffs.
We see the impact of illegal immigration every day.
We see firsthand the dangers of open borders, sanctuary cities,
and criminal aliens released back on the street.
We are your local sheriffs, charged with keeping America safe.
But we need the President and Congress to do their part and start enforcing immigration laws.
Lives are depending on it.
Paid for by the Federation for American Immigration Reform.
Speaking of, they want the federal government to do their part. Let me give you just a little montage here of how the federal government feels about the job that they're doing in terms of immigration. We've got a little clip, I think we call The Borders Are Secure, that we put out before.
Yeah.
Play that one from our friends in the federal government.
Okay.
We have strengthened border security beyond what many believed was possible.
The border is more secure now than it has been ever. Confident that the border is as secure as it's ever been. It is more secure now than it has ever been.
I think it's really important for this panel and the country to know the border is as secure as it's ever been.
Mr. Speaker, our borders are more secure than ever before.
Everyone here, the border is secure.
The border is secure.
I think our border, with now 21,000 Border Patrol agents, is under control.
Our border is secure, more secure than ever before.
The border today is more secure than it has ever been.
Is the border secure?
Well, I will tell you that there are more resources that are dedicated to this border right now and securing it than there ever have been.
More secure.
As secure.
Secure.
Secure. Secure.
Secure.
Secure.
The border is secure.
Idiots. Or they think we are. I don't know who, I mean, it's like they're in broad daylight trying to tell you that it's nighttime and that you're confused. That's not the sun. It's just the brightest moon that's ever shone on the planet Earth. They're idiots. Not us. Them. So what do you do? One thing that's been put out there is do we round them all up? Do we create a mass deportation? And of course, that really is not tenable. Well, I think we all know that. That would be delightful if we could do that, I think, but really it doesn't serve the purpose. So, the federal government came up with what they called a PEP program, Priority Enforcement Program, where they are just looking for the worst of the worst. When they ask for an extended detention on somebody that's already in custody, when they ask the sheriff to hold them over until they can pick them up, and not put them out on bail or bond or whatever, that they're looking for the priority people, the folks that have committed murder, et cetera, et cetera. So, but when you talk about deportation, it's not a solution, and here's some reasons why. A, it would necessitate the co-optation of local law enforcement by the federal government. B, it would be very costly, financially almost impossible. And C, it would inevitably result in violations of constitutional rights of American citizens who are inadvertently caught up in the dragnet. In other words, it would just be a logistical nightmare. So you kind of have to take that off the table as one of the thought processes and figure out what we're going to do about it. Here's an article that had to be published, apparently, in the Canadian Free Press, because the American, quote, free press, unquote, probably wouldn't publish it. And it says, if we want to solve our border problem, and it's about the United States, and that of millions of illegal aliens here, all we have to do are two things. Number one, keep them out. Number two, make it impossible for them to stay. So you don't have to round them up. You have to make it impossible for them to stay. There is a difference. So you can artificially classify illegal aliens into criminal aliens and non-criminals. And what we've done is that criminal illegal aliens have committed some crime since coming to the United States. That crime could be assault, robbery, drug dealing, extortion, gang violence, all the things that you heard those folks talking about. The point is that the left, the liberals, have convinced the country that only in committing a crime after coming to the United States illegally constitutes them being criminals. In other words, if they did all of those things before they got here, we're not going to hold that against them. Until they do it here. So, and to me, it's the same. It's the same theory of law. Law enforcement has a culture and a mentality of being reactive. Citizens all day long know when they live by a dangerous corner. They tell the police, they tell everybody that will listen to them that sooner or later somebody is going to have a really bad wreck on that corner and get killed. And I guarantee the police will tell you, when that happens, if we have the money, we'll put up a stoplight. But we're not even going to consider it until somebody gets killed.
It's like they're reactive instead of proactive.
Totally reactive.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's their
shame.
Well, that's their training. They can't arrest somebody that they think is going to commit a murder. They got to wait until it happens. Mm-hmm. That's their training, and in some cases there's a good reason for it. But if I've got an illegal alien coming over here who has a record of all of these bad and nasty, what we consider to be felony crimes, and I turn him loose on bail or bond after he's been picked up for a DWI simply because he doesn't have a United States issued assault charge, I think that's a little being a little too generous with the land of the free. So anyway, and the point of this article was that actually they are committing a crime the minute they came here illegally. So that apparently is not high enough up on the crime detection scale to hold them. So the excuse from the left is generally, well, they just want a better life. Everyone wants a better life. But not everyone commits a serial crime, sometimes for years, in order to achieve a better life. By serial crime, that means coming here illegally and staying here illegally. Every day that you are here illegally, you are committing a serial crime called illegal immigration.
That's true.
So, back to the bottom line of this article. If we want to do, we have to do two things. Keep them out and make it impossible for them to stay. Mm-hmm. That's basically the bottom line. It goes through a great scenario of two bank robbers, but unfortunately, we don't have the time to get into it. Let me take Kev, I got another little brief break in there to grab a sip of water?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas.
Call 1-800-352-3127. Again, 1-800-352-3127. A fee-based company.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back. Welcome aboard. You are listening to Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show. And through all of this mix that you've been hearing, cuts and sound bites and various and sundry people, let's hear from the Obama administration ICE director, which is Immigration and Customs Enforcement is what ICE stands for.
Yes.
Let's hear from the director of that service and see if you can keep her from walking your brain around in a circle. Go ahead.
Under this new policy, what's going to happen if and when a local jurisdiction does not comply?
Well, this is one of the things I'm considering. I, along with the victims this morning, do not want to see their lives go, without being addressed.
I hope we can all agree about that, but the bottom line is there's no consequence now. There's no teeth now. Nothing happens to these local jurisdictions. So if this is a brand new day brought on by these horrific incidents, what's going to happen to these local jurisdictions?
I'm in the middle of looking at that because, as you know, we just started implementing PEP within the last
So you don't know that anything's
weeks.
going to happen to them?
No, we're going to work towards that, sir. I want to talk to more jurisdictions to understand exactly what the problems are with respect to their accepting our cooperating with us. And once I understand their local problems, I think I can help them better to help figure out a solution. I don't want to be one of these people that comes in and says, I'm with the federal government and I'm here to help
you. Say pretty please 3 times and they don't comply, is there going to be any negative consequence?
I'm looking at that, sir, and working with the secretary to see what we can do with respect to that.
So you have not determined yet that there will be any negative consequence?
The program has been in effect for about 3 weeks, sir. We just started. We asked for a chance.
Well, there were some victims' families here who asked for a chance, and their chance is gone in terms of their family member. 3 weeks. This has been going on for years, and you still are not prepared to say that there is ever going to be any negative consequence to those jurisdictions. When is that going to change?
I presume when you all address comprehensive immigration reform, perhaps it can be addressed there.
Ridiculous. Now we're going to the political line you just disavowed.
Comprehensive immigration reform to me is not political. It's an essential legislative effort to try to get...
absent Congress passing that bill that you and the Obama administration prefer, you don't think right now we can stop sanctuary cities from flaunting federal law? You don't think right now there can be any negative consequences when they do not properly cooperate under existing federal law with immigration enforcement?
And that's what I understand you all are working on.
Well, we've been asking to a solution for that about sanctuary cities for years. There's been absolutely no effort from the administration before. Today, after these tragedies, you're not prepared to say that you support any negative consequence to sanctuary city jurisdictions if they don't properly cooperate. I eagerly await y'all to finally say that, to finally say, yes, there needs to be some consequence, because that is the only way it's going to stop throughout hundreds of jurisdictions around the United States.
And Senator Vitter, I offer you my assistance if you would like my input with respect to any legislation you propose to try to resolve this or get.
I'm asking for your input right now. What should the negative consequence be that you will support?
Well, I'm hopeful that I don't have to hit somebody over the head with a federal hammer and work with these state and local jurisdictions, which have their own specific problems to address. I think you understand that, Senator, and that's why I'd like to work with you to try to address it jurisdiction by jurisdiction.
Unfortunately, the biggest thing I understand is that you are not prepared today, as we speak, even after these horrible tragedies, to support a single negative consequence against a sanctuary city jurisdiction if they do not properly cooperate with immigration enforcement. That's unfortunately the biggest thing I understand. If that's incorrect, please tell me how. I'm eager to hear that.
It is incorrect.
Okay, so what negative consequence will you support?
Whatever you all propose with respect to legislation, I would like to work with you on it to see what we can do to help our communities as opposed to put roadblocks in their way in their community policing.
And will you tell us what you would support in that regard right now?
You know, sir, I am so focused on trying to correct the problem through our PEP program that I'd be happy to work with you with respect to any legislation you propose.
It's time for the Senate to adopt a Trump saying, "You're fired."
That's right.
How much more do we let our employees, and this lady works for us, how much longer do we let them maintain their non-accountability? How many times did that senator ask her a direct question and she gave a nonsensical bull sugar response that just said, "Look, we're thinking about it. Come on, girls, get some backbone. Fire these people. Get them the heck out of there."
That's right.
Two things have to be done. Keep them out, make it impossible for them to stay. Saint cities, if you've not been listening to us and you've stayed with us this long, perhaps you wonder what that means. SAINT, Sanctuary Assembled in Nature's Tradition. We have God-given rights that are codified in the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Those don't come from the federal government. They come from God Almighty. They are yours. They are your birthright. Actually, our soldiers, our people die worldwide because that is a birthright of everyone in the world. This happens to be the primary country where that birthright is protected. And that's what a saint city is all about. Rather than saying no to sanctuary, say yes to saint. Sanctuary Assembled in Nature's Tradition. We are starting, this is an initiative. It hopefully will grow into a movement, and we will get some action. We will get around these idiotic federal, I don't want to answer your question or be accountable to your rules, people.
But I'll take the paycheck.
But I'll take your paycheck. An exorbitant paycheck, by the way.
Yep.
You know. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.